If denial keeps you blind, then recognition is the key. The chosen are not those who receive the signal. Everyone does. The chosen are those who perceive it, interpret it, and act in alignment with it. This is where quantum reality begins to reveal itself. The signal is not random. It emerges because of resonance. At the quantum level, the field of possibility is infinite, but probability collapses only where observation and frequency align. When your state is chaotic, your collapse reflects chaos. When your state is coherent, the collapse reflects alignment. The signal is evidence of coherence, proof that your frequency has tuned into the field. So how do you work with it? The first step is awareness. The signal is subtle because the quantum field itself is subtle. It exists beneath the noise of thought, beneath the distractions of the physical world. Most people never notice it because they live in constant beta brainwave cycles, high alert, scattered, unfocused. To perceive the field, you must lower the noise. Alpha and theta states of presence, meditation, silence, open perception. That is when the signal begins to rise above the background. The second step is confirmation. Quantum mechanics shows us that probability is not fixed until observed. But once observed, the field confirms itself. The pattern repeats. The alignment strengthens. This is why you see repeating numbers, why synchronicities echo, why the same person appears again and again in your timeline. It is not accident. It is quantum confirmation. The field saying, yes, this collapse is real. Ask yourself, how many times has the same alignment repeated until you could no longer deny it? And yet, how many times have you still brushed it aside, fearing it was just your imagination? The third step is trust. Quantum reality is not mechanical. It does not reveal itself under a microscope of doubt. Observation shapes reality, but observation charged with disbelief collapses noise. Observation charged with faith collapses order. This is why the chosen move. When the signal appears, they act. They trust. And because of that trust, the field reorganizes. Reality bends in their favor because they aligned with the signal instead of denying it. The fourth step is alignment. Here is where transformation begins. Every time you honor the signal, your frequency stabilizes. Every time you dismiss it, your frequency collapses into incoherence. Alignment is a feedback loop. Recognize the signal, act on it, and more signals appear. This is how chosen lives unfold. Not through chance, but through repeated alignment with the field, and finally, surrender. The field does not send the signal on your schedule. It is not a vending machine. You cannot demand it to appear. You can only prepare to see it. This preparation is frequency work, meditation, coherence, intention. It is living as if the field is alive because it is. And when the signal does appear, you will not dismiss it. You will not call it coincidence. You will know it for what it is. Proof. Quantum science and spirit converge here. Physics tells us that probability collapses at the moment of observation. Spirit tells us that destiny is revealed through signs. Both describe the same mechanism. The signal is the meeting point of observer and field. The chosen are those who recognize it, trust it, and allow it to rewrite their timeline. So the question is no longer, does the signal exist? It does. The question is, will you live blind, trapped in the illusion of randomness? Or will you live chosen, perceiving the quantum confirmation that reality is alive and listening? You felt it before you understood it. A micro-alignment, a cold certainty, a coincidence that landed with the force of a proof. The signal reached you, the field spoke, and then you did what most do. You explained it away. You named it chance. You softened the moment with doubt. You stepped back. That step back matters. It is not small. At the quantum level, it is decisive. Observation collapses probability. But observation, mixed with hesitation, collapses the old probability, the safe, familiar loop, again. Every time you explain the signal away, you tell the field to return the same old result. You strengthen the prison you barely saw. Think in terms of frequency. The signal arrives because your frequency touched a new resonance. For a blink, your coherence rose above background noise. The field responded. It offered possibility. But fields require feeding. Coherence must be continued. If you interpret, rationalize, or retreat, your frequency drops. The field honors that drop. The probability you almost created dissolves, and the old timeline reasserts itself. How many times has this happened to you? A near impossible opening, a perfect conversation that could have changed everything, a coincidence so sharp it burned your disbelief. You freeze. You question. You wait. By the time courage arrives, the window is closed. The field has collapsed to the old map. There's another cost, neural reinforcement. Your brain records your response. If you habitually step back from the signal, you teach your nervous system to expect retreat. Synapses strengthen around hesitation. You train your body chemistry to favor safety over risk, comfort over alignment. Over months and years, this builds a physiology of non-response, a body that will physically resist the kinds of coherent states that once opened those signals. So, the cost is threefold. The immediate loss of a collapsed new probability, the re-strengthening of the old pattern in the field, and the somatic reinforcement that makes future recognition harder. You don't just lose one chance. You make the next one rarer, and the field is not patient. It will continue to broadcast, but the confirmations will shift. The feedback loop favors the strongest, most consistent frequency. If you keep collapsing doubt, the field rewards doubt. If you keep collapsing coherence, the field responds with coherence. This is not moralizing, it is physics. Ask yourself honestly, how many signals have you buried because of fear? How many proofs were cashed out in rationalization? How often did you choose convenience over demonstration, explanation over surrender? There's a price beyond lost opportunity. There is the slow erosion of agency. Each ignored signal is a small theft from your timeline. Years slip away while you rehearse safety. Potential relationships, projects, and identities that once shimmered on the edge fade into archives of what if. And the mind, clever and cruel, constructs reasons to keep you comfortable in your smallness, but this intensification is not only doom, it is a call. The same mechanics that punish inaction reward action. Coherence compounds. A single decisive response can realign your trajectory. When you follow the signal even once, when you act before your fear finishes its sentence, the field registers a new template. It begins to generate confirmations faster. The nervous system learns a new chemistry. The world rearranges. The difference between those who remain lucky and those who are chosen is not metaphysical privilege. It is a pattern of micro-responses. The chosen respond. They do not wait for final proof. They recognize confirmation, move, and thereby create the next confirmation. The loop flips. This is why we must treat the signal like an urgent transmission. Not with frantic grasping, but with a clear, embodied yes. When the moment arrives, align breath with heart, lower the noise, and move. Let your body feel the coherence. Let your actions be short, precise, decisive. The field does not need drama. It needs clarity. And remember, the field mirrors not only action, but the quality of that action. A jittery yes will not hold. A calm, coherent consent will. That is why your preparation matters. Silence, ritual, focused breath. These are not spiritual frills. They are frequency tools. They stabilize your system so that when the signal arrives, your yes lands as a strong command. Finally, know this. Every moment of conscious response re-breaks the prison. It is not a single hero's act. It is repetition, 1,000 micro-choices that rewire the field and your body. The intensification is the pressure you feel to change now, because delay multiplies loss. The longer you postpone, the more you must rebuild. So decide, will you keep explaining away the evidence, letting the prison rebuild one ignored signal at a time? Or will you practice the small, courageous moves that accumulate into a life that proves you were chosen, not by fate, but by your willingness to respond? The signal has always been present, but now you see it. You've felt it in the words, in the timing, in the silence between sentences. This moment is not random. Out of billions of choices you could have made, you chose this one. Out of infinite distractions, you landed here. That is not chance. That is proof. Proof that the signal is alive inside your reality, and once you recognize it, you can never truly go back. You can deny it. You can explain it away, but the recognition remains. The prison of randomness is shattered the moment you admit, this is not coincidence. This is alignment. That admission changes everything. It tells the field you are awake. It declares that you are ready to live chosen, but recognition is fragile. If you leave this moment without sealing it, the old patterns will try to rebuild. Noise will come rushing back. Doubt will whisper, "It was nothing, just another video." Forget it, and if you obey that voice, the field will collapse you back into blindness. That is why you must seal the signal now, here, in this exact moment. How? With declaration. In the comments, write one word: chosen. That word is not decoration. It is not for me. It is not for the algorithm. It is for the field. It is the moment you collapse alignment into action. Every person who writes it is not just typing. Life is full of noise, random events, coincidences. But sometimes something pierces through the noise. A thought that echoes louder than it should. A sign that appears at the exact moment you need it. These are not accidents. They are signals. And one of them proves beyond doubt that you are chosen. Stay until the end of this video, because you'll learn how to recognize the exact signal that separates chance from destiny, and why the very fact that you're here may already be proof that you were chosen. Most people drift through life convinced everything is random, a series of disconnected events, coincidences, meaningless patterns. They call it luck when something works and misfortune when it doesn't. They believe reality is chaos, but that belief is the first layer of blindness, because beneath the surface of chance, there is structure. Beneath the noise, there is signal. And here is the truth. Not everyone sees it. Not everyone is meant to. The chosen are marked not by status, wealth, or education, but by perception, by their ability to notice the signal when it pierces the fog. The rest of the world calls it coincidence, but the chosen recognize it for what it is: alignment. Proof that reality is not random. Proof that reality is responding. Think about your own life. How many times has something happened at exactly the right moment? How many times have you thought of someone only for them to appear? How many times has the timing been so precise it felt impossible to explain? Did you dismiss it? Did you call it luck? Or did you feel the weight of something greater? Quantum physics confirms what the mystics always taught. The field is not chaos. It is infinite possibility waiting to collapse into form. But collapse does not happen randomly. It responds to frequency, to coherence, to observation. What you call coincidence is actually resonance. The signal appears because your frequency has reached the point where reality mirrors back alignment. This is why most people miss it. Their lives are saturated with noise, endless distractions, constant thought loops. They are too busy replaying the past to notice the present when it bends. They mistake signal for accident, miracle for chance, alignment for randomness. And because they dismiss it, they remain blind. Ask yourself, how many signals have you missed? How many moments of proof did you label as coincidence? How many times did reality reach out to tell you you are chosen, only for you to bury it under disbelief? Spirit has always pointed to this. Shamans described omens that guided tribes, symbols in the natural world that spoke louder than words. Mystics said the divine communicates not with thunder, but with subtle signals, whispers, alignments, patterns only the few could recognize. Even scriptures echo the same truth. Many are called, but few are chosen. The call is everywhere. The signal's constant. But only those who answer, only those who recognize, become the chosen. Neuroscience gives another layer. The brain has something called the reticular activating system. It filters reality, deciding what enters your awareness and what stays hidden. Most people program it with repetition, fear, and distraction, so it only shows them more of the same. But when the chosen shift their perception, when they open to silence, coherence, presence, the filter changes. Suddenly they see what others cannot. Patterns align, signals appear. Reality seems to bend in their favor, not because they are lucky, but because they are attuned. And this is the revelation. The signal is not rare. It is constant. The rarity is in the recognition. The universe is always broadcasting, always sending alignment, always proving that reality is not random. But only a few tune in. Only a few stay awake long enough to notice. Those few become the chosen, not chosen by favoritism, but chosen by awareness. So the question is, are you seeing the signal right now? Are you noticing the fact that you are here listening to these words at this exact moment in your timeline? What are the odds? Out of billions of people, out of infinite distractions, you arrived here, now, with this message in front of you. Do you think that's random? Or is this itself the signal? If the signal is always there, if the universe is constantly broadcasting, why do so few ever recognize it? Why do so many spend entire lifetimes blind to the proof that was always before them? The error is simple but devastating. People deny the signal. The moment alignment appears, they dismiss it. They call it chance. They reduce it to luck. They rationalize it until the mystery is gone. Because to admit the truth would require transformation. And transformation is uncomfortable. Think of it. You feel a surge of intuition. You see repeating numbers at the exact moment you are questioning your path. You meet the right person at the precise time you needed them. Instead of stopping, instead of listening, you brush it off. Just coincidence, you say. But deep down, a whisper stirs. What if it wasn't? Quantum physics tells us the observer shapes reality, but most people refuse to accept this responsibility. If they admitted the signal was real, they would have to admit their perception creates their life. And that truth terrifies them. It's easier to blame randomness than to embrace power. Neuroscience reveals the same trap. The brain craves certainty. It prefers old patterns, even painful ones, over the unknown. So when the signal appears, the brain rejects it. It doesn't fit the pattern. Ignore it. And in that moment, the signal is lost. Ask yourself, how many times have you ignored the whisper? How many times did the universe send proof only for your mind to label it as nothing? How much power has been buried under the safety of disbelief? Spirit warned of this for centuries. Prophets spoke of people who had eyes but did not see, ears but did not hear. Shamans said, the forest speaks, but only the prepared can listen. Mystics declared, the signal never leaves. But the blind convinced themselves it was never there. And here is the cruel truth. The signal does not stop. It keeps arriving, over and over, until you recognize it. But every time you deny it, you strengthen the prison. You repeat the cycle. You convince yourself that reality is chaos, and reality, obedient to your belief, reflects chaos back to you. This is the error. People believe they are waiting for proof, but the proof has always been here. It is the denial of proof that keeps them blind. So the question now is not whether the signal exists. It does. The question is, will you keep denying it? Or will you finally see it for what it is?